Losing in chess. A lot of players don't really like losing in chess. It's quite common. Even I don't like losing in chess, and it's the same with everybody. But we want to improve in chess, then we have to lose sometimes. Okay, so when we lose, we always get a chance to learn more in chess. Like if you lose and if you're not taking any steps and we are not ready to improve, then we remain in the same level. So there are also so many benefits when you lose a game of chess. Like you can always get to know much better about yourself, your own strength and your own weakness, and much better about your opponent, and so many ideas you can discover. Like you can discover a lot of scientific things in chess, like how it works. If you pay attention and if you focus on your loss, you can really improve a lot. Even the world's best player, Gary Kasparov, in 80s and 90s, he was so strong. He was dominating the chess world, and most of the time he beats all the players in very less number of moves. And he became very strong after losing couple of games with Karpov. So Gary used to be too strong in attacking chess, but however Karpov used to be too good in defensive chess. Like Gary's game is always used to be very hot. He makes very powerful sacrifice. He creates complication in the board, and the viewers will be always excited to see his game, because whenever Gary plays, there'll be a lot of viewers. Like there's something going to happen on the board, and he creates very strong attacks, and he beats his opponent very badly. Okay, but what happens when he plays with Karpo? The game is always going to be balanced. Like Karpo will come up with very strong counter chances. So he is also master of defense. Like he's too good in end game as well. So initially, what happened in the year 1984 to 85, there was a world championship match between the Karpo and Kasparov. At that time, they both played 48 games. Actually, the world championship format used to be very long at that time. So they both played 48 games, and 40 games ended in draw. And Karpo's score was 5. He won 5 games, and Gary won 3 games. Initially, Gary lost some games, but the 47th and 48th game, Gary Kasparov was coming in a great style. Like he was his comeback was really great. But somehow they aborted the match, because that match was happening for almost 6 months, and 6 months is something very long duration. And both the players, the preparation time was like almost 1,000 hours. 1,000 hours is something very great. Like they were only preparing for 1,000 hours. And what happened? Like Karpo lost 10 kg in his body weight, so somehow they aborted that match. But anyway, in those games, Gary learned a lot of things, like how to improve more, because his losses, the game where he lost, he started coming up with new strategy. Not only Gary Kasparov, even Karpo also. Both of them were playing more and more stronger. Same person in different versions. Like both of them are improving, and the best version of both of them. So what happened? That gave one. I mean, that became a very strong turning point in Gary's career. Like Gary became very powerful, really powerful, and he started winning more and more games with the other players and started dominating the world. And let me tell you one small secret. If you want to know, like when Gary really plays the most powerful chess, you have to see the game between Gary Kasparov and Alexei Shirov. Because whenever Gary plays with Alexei Shirov, he plays in such a way that he uses his maximum strength. Like he uses his 100% energy level, because he wants to win Alexei Shirov. because there's a reason. Because Alexei Shirov also made a false claim against Gary Kasparov that Gary, like, he just made some false claim with Kramnik Kasparov match, which is very unfair. Like Gary is a very strong sportsman. He plays such a wonderful chess. Okay, so after that false claim, like Gary starts playing more and more powerful, and Alexei Shirov never won with Gary. Being a disciple of Gary Kasparov, I personally follow him for a very long time, and recently also Gary is not performing. There could be some reasons, like Gary's mom also expired recently, some time ago. So there are some psychological problems which we must understand. So Gary is going to come back later soon, but his games are really good, and I would recommend you to watch the Karpo Kasparov match. Like, it's always instructive, and that's how Gary became very strong. So his games used to be very hot, and Karpo is like always I'm so cool, and he plays in such a way, like playing uh, very strong against a very highly like talented attacking player is something not easy. But Gary also made a lot of improvements, and Karpo also made a lot of improvements, and both of them started growing up in life. Okay, so I would suggest you to do the same thing. Like when you lose to an opponent, you focus on your weakness and strength, and take it easy, and take everything as a learning opportunity to grow up in life and in chess. Okay, so I'll just show like a few important ideas in this game how Gary improved a lot. Okay, this game, Gary, even though he lost, we can see like a few ideas. So in this game, what happened was Gary was playing black. So Gary was playing white, and Karpo was playing black. So Gary has a very strong pass pawn, and this pawn is going to put a lot of pressure. Like if this pawn is not handled correctly, then it could give immediate disaster. So right now, Gary is ready to play knight c6. Okay, so Karpo gets his worst place piece into the game. So this knight needs to join the attack. It's not performing well. So the knight came to c3. So knight came to c3. So the knight is in a very strong position. Okay. So Karpo played knight c3, and Gary went knight c6. This position is highly tricky because we can't underestimate the d7 pawn. Because once this pawn comes here, it's going to become a queen, and that would cost this rook. So now black has to deal this threat correctly. So d7 is coming. So bishop b7 is pretty forced. So there's no other option. We have to go bishop b7. So the bishop went to b7. Karpo plays bishop to b7. And Gary plays bishop g2. Now d7 is still a threat. We have to deal this correctly, because if we play some weak moves, for instance, let's say if I make some moves like bishop captures, which is a very bad move, they would capture, the rook is under attack, and if I move something like this, they will push pawn, and there's a strong control over the e8 square, and rook is coming here, and that would cost the rook. So Karpo would lose here. So obviously they are not going to play this move. This is just for the educational purpose. I'm just demonstrating this. So bishop g2. So the timing, like he wants to really stop this pawn. Karpov wants to stop this pawn because Gary is continuously creating pressure. He always plays for win. Like he tries to win somehow, so he creates complication. Here, this is a main threat. So Karpov coolly defends it with rook to e8. Rook e8 is forced anyway. Rook e8 because d7 is not giving time. If d7 is there, if they play d7, it's obvious that black is going to capture, and then he'll hold the pawn. So this is lost. I mean, he'll capture. This is completely lost because he can collect everything with the tempo. I should mention this. Knight a2. Okay, so this is quite easy. So Gary plays knight to e5. So this is quite tricky because now we have to remember that we have back rank problems. These pawns are not cleared, so there is back rank issues here. So there is back rank issues. So if we take on g2, you can see white is threatening knight to d7, and that will lead to a checkmate. Knight d7, and then if the king goes to g8, rook takes e8. Okay, so this is one very strong threat Gary makes. And in this game, you can see Karpov is playing really coolly, like because Gary is very strong and attacking. To defeat Gary, it's not something easy. Most of the time, Gary will somehow like create more complications. Like okay, and this is a very good position for black, but not so easy to convert the advantage because black is having extra material, but it's tricky. It's simply tricky here. So we need to first find a way to sort this threat. The knight is going to d7. Also, the bishop is hanging, so which makes this position little difficult. So Karpov came up with a very strong move. f6. Okay, before we make f6, I'll tell you why bishop e4 fails. Bishop e4 looks tricky, but it fails because d7, and this knight is secured because the rook is tied to the defense of the d8, and then they would take on e4. So f6 is forced, and if they go knight d7, we have to remember the rook on e1 is hanging. So black gets time here to play king to f7, and then rook captures e8, king captures e8, and if bishop b7, we can take on d7, and black has win here. Black can win comfortably here. Just take the d6 pawn, and then these two pawns are really non-stoppable. It just goes. Okay, so rook e8 was very good. So knight e5, black plays f6, and then Gary takes on. Gary takes here because he has to. But before that, Gary plays this move d7. I think d7 first. D7. So d7, the rook has to go to d8. All these moves are forced, and then Gary takes on b7, and Karpov takes on e5. Okay. So Gary tries to hold the pawn on d7 because the king is quite near to the pawn. So bishop c6 was played in the game. Now if rook e5 is allowed, it could be still dangerous because rook e8 is coming anyway. So black has to save the pawn. So black's only option to do this is black has to play pawn to e4. So which Gary could have played, but anyway, it's going to lead to the similar kind of moves. Okay, e4 is quite strong. So bishop c6, king e7. So bishop takes. Since the king is quite near, actually here it looks like rook e5 is strong, but since the king is quite near, he can just hold the pawn. Like if rook e8, king can just come to c7, and these pawns will go. There's no defense because the king is holding the important key square, the d8. So that's the reason he allowed it to take. White took on b5, bishop takes b5. So knight takes b5, rook takes e5, king takes d7, rook takes b5. So one important improvement for black is king c6. So black has the very strong pawn here. This is an outside pawn. It's very strong. Very difficult for the white to control because at some point the king has to come to the a file. Meantime, black king will reach the other side of the board. So Karpov played king c6 and Gary played rook h5, and now he has to protect this pawn, so he just plays h6. So rook e5, and Karpov is a specialist in endgame, so he uses a very instructive idea, placing the rook behind the pass pawn. So the rook has to go behind the pass pawn. So rook a8 and rook a5, king goes to b6, rook goes back, and then we have to push. Once the pawn starts going forward, that would shorten this rook's mobility. Right now you can see the rook has limited mobility. He can go here, here, here. But once this pawn starts going forward, that would limit this rook's activity. So king f1 was played. So pawn to a4, king to e2, king went to c5, king d2, pawn push. So soon this king has to come to b3, and black is aiming to get to the other side. So king c1, king d4, f4. Okay, so Gary is using this 7th rank defense. He's giving the tough resistance, not allowing the king to get in there. Okay, so this rook is also going to find a strong improvement here. So king e4 was played by Karpov. Anyway, he's ready to advance the king. So advanced king has his advantage. So king b1, and Karpov plays a very instructive move here. Rook to b8 check. Gary played king to a1. Now Karpov goes for rook b2. So very good technique to convert the endgame into a clear win. So Gary has to take on a3, because if he takes, rook takes b2, we can take back, and when they take, we can play king f3, and king is going to win these pawns. So black king is more faster, like black is too faster, and this king is very far. So this is already a one pawn endgame, so we can go back. So Gary takes on a3, and this is a forced move. He has to. Rook takes on. h2. Okay, so king has to come closer. Now he has to target this pawn. So right now, if Gary plays rook g2, there's no follow up. I mean, if Karpov plays rook g2, there's no follow up because this rook is defending it anyway. So the king has to break through and get in, and this rook is strongly defending this. So we just try to block this path. So Gary plays rook d2. So he's trying to get the rook there. A strong interference between these two lines. Okay, so rook to d2, and Karpov plays. Sorry, Gary plays rook to a6. So now, should we go g5 or rook g2? Because rook g2, they have rook g6. You can see that. Not a difficult one to spot. So first king f5. He tries to stop this, and then at the right moment, it's ready to go to g4, and this pawn will come under attack shortly. So black has to deal this threat. So Karpov plays g5. Now the g3 pawn is weak. So check. I mean, here check. If check, we can go king to g4. So they played rook a6, and Karpov goes pawn to g4. The g3 pawn is weak, so pawn g4. Now have to take because there's no other options. So Gary took, and Karpov went rook g2, and this is completely winning here. So rook h5 check. King has to go to e4, f5, and this rook has to stop the pawn from behind. That's one ideal square. So rook f2, king c1, and now king can go there to f3. So king d1, king takes, king e1, and we have to keep an eye on this pawn. So king has to move because sooner or later we have to push this pawn in order to win. So he's gaining some timing here. So rook g5, and it's forced to play g3. Okay, so rook h5. Now rook to f4. So this rook is not having good mobility because soon we can get the king and push. This is one idea, and if they give check, we can always shield with the rook. So king went to e2, and Karpov plays rook e4. This cutoff is trying for the Luzina position, or we call it as bridge building method. That final position is going to come. So check, king b3. So king f3, holding the rook and ready to push. So rook went to h1, pawn push. So here it's coordinated, but still this pawn is much advanced. That's why white is not able to break this coordination. So check, king has to go to g4. Okay, king g4, and rook h8. Okay, now what is the best move for black here? So the rook is under attack. So we can move it here, saving the rook. At the same time, attacking the f5 pawn. So king e2, and we can take. This is fine. So check here. Gary resigned because this check Karpov can get to get the king to h3, not rook g5, because takes and king f2 holds. So here, and if check comes, we can go king g3, check. We can go king h2, one more check. We can go king g1, and here there are few methods to win. One winning method is like if they move here, we can just cut this king's path, so cut off. And if they move, we can just bring the king here. They give a check, we can come here, check. We can go to f3, check. We can go to g4, and then after rook check, we can block. Okay. So this is one very instructive loss for Garry Kasparov, and later he became more and more stronger by playing with Anatoly Karpov. So we can see a couple of games in the upcoming lessons. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.